What's up, y'all? I'm so excited to be back to do another reading for Leo season, the first half of Leo season, which is about to start on tomorrow as I'm filming this, July 22nd. We've got some very interesting energies to talk about. It's a really big Leo season. If you're familiar with the astrology, then you already know. But I've got a tarot reading here, and I've got some messages also from the I Ching that are going to provide some really practical, grounded advice to help us really move through this energy as it is showing up because there are big shifts, big changes coming through, and we can participate in these changes so that they're not so jarring and shocking. Or, you can just let the universe do its thing and shake you, shake you out of your stagnancy. So before we get into this, do the social media things like, share, subscribe. Um, Check out my Ko-Fi page because I post my channel notes and I post images of the tarot spread and all the cards that I pull throughout my reading. And also on my Ko-Fi page, you can donate if you are so inclined. So let's get into this. We're going to talk about the first half of Leo season, and I'm calling this the breakthrough or the breakdown. And those two things are actually a lot more similar than you may think, right? I'm going to start off with the I Ching before we get into the storyline or like the plot line of this next 2 weeks. So we got the plot line. We're gonna go into the action, and we're gonna go into the climax. We're gonna start with the I Ching, right? So the first hexagram I pulled was hexagram number 20, and it is called observation, right? So the way that the I Ching works, if you're not familiar, you pull two hexagrams, right? The first hexagram is going to speak to the current situation, and then the second hexagram speaks to the future, the possible future, if you kind of move forward within the highest good, within the highest intention, which is all explained with the I Ching, right? So, the first hexagram, hexagram 20, observation. This sign has a double meaning. On one hand, it signifies that you are observing something closely. On the other, it means that you yourself are being observed and standing in the spotlight. By observing cosmic laws, a knowledge is gained which affects everyday life right down to the finest detail. These laws grant great power to the one who understands and knows how to use them. Such a person possesses true leadership qualities by using intuition and sensitivity instead of force. Use this valuable time to try out new ideas and alter those which have become outdated. Trust is created by your efforts to do justice to people and relationships and through trying to understand them in their respective contexts. Your open attitude will create unity and harmony in personal relationships. All right, so starting with that, we're going to get into the first section of this reading, which is the plot line, right? It's coming through with the Judgment card and the Better Together, which is my card for the Chariot. And the funny thing that was coming to mind, the first thing that really pops in my head is that episode of SpongeBob. If you know, you know. But it's like that scene, and Mr. Krabs is reading Squidward's like flowers that he left at the gravesite, and it says, "Here lies Squidward's hopes and dreams." What a baby, right? That's what this energy is kind of giving me, right? The here lies. It's kind of this idea of something that has died, right? That is coming back. And with the Better Together, it wants to be integrated so that we can move forward in an aligned way, right? So once again, going back to the I Ching, the hexagram is observation, and we're really in this observing period right now where we are looking at parts of self that might have died off, right? They're coming back up. They want to be reintegrated. We want to reclaim those parts of ourselves so that we can be able to move forward in a way that feels sovereign, one, but also where all parts of us are honored. You know what I mean? We don't have to separate ourselves in order to achieve something that we think that we're supposed to reach, right? So, um, one thing that really comes up with the Judgment card and also the Chariot card is this concept of shame. And shame creates like a shadow self. The Judgment card, this could be literally being judged by social standards, right? And those parts of you that felt shame, you bury them down, right? You hide them in the closet and you put them away so that you can achieve some type of safety that is based off of the social belonging, right? But at the same time, that authentic part of you never gets its need met, and it becomes a situation where um, there is a true part of yourself that wants to diverge from this path that you feel like is prescribed or that you feel like you are meant to fit into a certain role, you know? I want to go into the grounding, how we can ground ourselves throughout this storyline, because it's coming up with the Burning Man card and the Lovers in the reverse, right? So now, what this makes me think of is American Horror Story Coven, and in that like season, they were killing off a lot of the characters, but then the characters would come back to life. And then there was that one scene where Emma Roberts' character, she's like, "Surprise, bitch!" That's what this is, you know. Like there is a part of ourselves, and this is so interesting because I feel like it goes two ways. Where for some of us, there is a part of ourselves that we are ready to reclaim, but we are trying to fight through this kind of energy of pressure of, you know, kind of whatever disappointment or loss or exile, ways that we felt like we were not included or safe to be our whole selves. And now we're trying to reclaim that. You know, we're seeing where we have lost an authentic piece of ourselves and figuring out how to bring that back in. And then for other people, it is a part of yourself that was shamed, and you keep trying to kill this part. You know what I mean? Like things keep happening in your life that reflect this authentic piece of you that is not safe to be at the surface, right? So you keep trying to kill it off and kill it off and kill it off, and it comes back and it's like, surprise, bitch! I bet you didn't think you'd see me again, right? So what's going on is that, you know, there is something. Well, with this Burning Man card, this is the King of Wands. The idea behind this card is like, what do you burn for? You know, what is actually sparking that creative inspiration or desire to move towards something, to experience something. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though you're trying to push this thing away, there is clearly something about this type of scenario or situation that is reflecting something that is authentic within you that you desire to experience. The Lovers card, I always say this is a counterpart card to the Devil, where the Lovers, this is the unfamiliar heaven, the Devil is the familiar hell. So this is about comfort zones, right? And there have been many opportunities where there is something outside of you that you feel drawn to, that you feel like is reflecting an authentic piece of you or an authentic purpose or desire or is inspiring you in a particular way. But for some reason, you feel like it's not okay to engage with that because it's attached to whatever has shamed you in the past, whatever part of you has been shamed that you were not allowed to embody, and it's back once again. But I think that the beautiful message here with this combination for the grounding is that you can step into this, you can engage with this situation, but not feel like you are indebted or kind of have to be attached to whatever title or whatever expectations are surrounding this, if that makes sense. Like, say there was a part of you that loved musical theater. Oh, I'm gonna bring up High School Musical, right? Because with Troy, he was a jock. He loved basketball or whatever, and he had all his basketball friends. But he also loved theater. But if he was to go do theater, he would get made fun of by all his friends, you know? But the truth is that you can like basketball and also do theater, you know? Just because you engage with this thing that you love, it doesn't make you any less of what you already are, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like there is such a attachment or connection to identity, and there is a shame narrative that is connected to engaging with this opportunity or this path that's opening up in front of you. But the reality is that you can engage with that and step away from that, if that makes sense. Like you can engage with this, and it doesn't mean that you are this title. Um, you're just much more multifaceted than that, you know? And I don't know, I think that there is a hesitancy to allow yourself to actually move forward with something that is calling to you, but it makes you question who you are, right? I think the other kind of aspect is that a lot of us have built identities from a kind of armor that was created to protect a part of you, right? And now you're finding yourself drawn to things that are outside of this armor, that are outside of this like role or identity that you fit yourself into, and it's making you question who you are. And you're like, if I do this, am I not who I am? And that's just not the case. The point is to engage with this, to reclaim more pieces of yourself, to find out who you are, because obviously there is some type of energetic pull, some type of energetic connection there. And it could be that, there is some authentic connection there, but you're not fully reflected in this space, and that's fine. You can step back out of it. It's just you have to give yourself the opportunity to engage with it, to embrace it, to know if it is you, rather than just trying to keep killing this thing off because you are afraid of the shame or the exile or, not being in the in crowd. You know, you can drop that at this point. So we're going to move into the action, how we are really engaging with this plot line of observing um, the authentic parts of ourselves that are ready to be integrated. It's coming up with the Justice card in the reverse and the New Horizon card, which is the Fool card in my deck. So immediately with this New Horizon card, I just see us coming at this from a new vantage point, from a new perspective, like a bird's eye view where we can kind of see everything. We can see our context. We can see, the external context as well. I think that came up in the I Ching kind of passage. But we're looking at this Justice card in the reverse. This is relationships, contracts of all kinds. That's, family. It is friends, romantic, business. You know, we have a new vantage point on the imbalances in those regards, or contracts that were broken, or promises that weren't kept. And that is, ways that people were not able to show up for you, and ways that you were not able to show up for others because of this piece of yourself that was being hidden, right? The Justice card for me always makes me think of like the terms of agreement, and since we're talking about this kind of judgment energy, this is like social agreement and kind of what expectations that you feel like you had to meet to be accepted, to have belonging, or what roles you had to play to, fit into a societal definition of meaning or value, And this new perspective is seeing how that has just been imbalanced all along, you know? There has been a way that you've been performing or withholding parts of yourself in order to have this connection, or in order to, be accepted into a certain container or space. But because all of you was not ever allowed, you haven't actually been getting your needs met, you know? So for some of us, this is needing to address whatever relationships we're ready to let go of, because there is a true part of ourselves that is now coming into the story that's not okay with this arrangement. And for some people, this is actually like looking back at past contracts that you weren't able to show up fully, and you didn't meet the terms of agreement in these connections, also because of whatever past fear narratives were existing there, and then wanting to come back to this with a new perspective, a new understanding of self, and being able to meet this in the way that it needed to be met. We're going to go into the serenities. This is how we can cultivate more peace while we're moving through this energy of, redefining our interpersonal relationships and how we create contracts, right? Um, this is coming up with the Four of Cups in the reverse and the Head of House card, which is the um, King of Pentacles in my deck. So I'm just immediately looking at this and I'm seeing both of these fours, where fours really reflect stability, security, safety, and like a solid foundation. And we're looking at one, cups, your emotional foundation. So this is what you need to feel belonging, nurture, intimate, deep bonds with another person. And then adding in that pentacle energy. This is about, physical stability and hmm, obligation. It's about expectation. It's about responsibility, you know? So, this King of Pentacles, their responsibility now, their job now is to make sure that whatever relationships, uh, containers, communities, or spaces that you engage in, that they also meet you on a deep, heartfelt level, Because I can see for some people, you've been holding on to this particular foundation, you've been holding on to a particular comfort zone that helped keep you emotionally like balanced, It's like you have community on the surface level, you have a friend group, but you weren't necessarily intimately connected with these people. But you hold on to it because, you know, it provided a sense of stability, if that makes sense, like emotional stability. But is it worth it if you're not actually being met on a deep level, right? The reason that you feel like you're not quite fully present in these spaces is because of that part of yourself that has been held back. And if you can't bring that forward now, then that truth, that need is never going to be met. So, this is the job, this is the responsibility to either um, come back to a former like contract or relationship that actually had the capacity to hold all parts of you and then finally make that investment to solidify that foundation, or this is the point where you are looking at your current contract, your current relationships with new eyes, right? And then taking back your piece, your seed, your kind of commitment to these spaces. Um, and, maybe that means stepping out of your comfort zone, and maybe that means not having a consistent source of, um, I guess, camaraderie. But the purpose of that is to actually find something that is emotionally aligned, actually find something that can hold and honor all parts of you, and then create your foundation there, right? Because from that place, you, one, have the ability to have all your needs met, right? But then two, there's just so much more room to explore more avenues of creative potential or creative expression, or just like life purpose, if that makes sense, because for a lot of us there are things that we want to experience, that we want to grab onto, that, like I said before, they exist outside of the current container, they exist outside of the current uh, space where you have kind of grounded your identity. And because of that, you are just going to be unhappy. Because if you were to engage with this new inspiration, and it's not even new, it's like an old inspiration that just keeps coming back, but you keep trying to push it down so that you can hold on to this level of comfort that's not even fulfilling you, So this is how to kind of keep the peace at this time. Like, we are redoing relationships, coming back to old things that we want to show up for, and getting rid of things that we no longer want to perform for. And that kind of instability or stepping out of your comfort zone is serves the purpose of being able to solidify a foundation that is authentic, you know? So, we're going to go into the climax, which speaks to the future. And so now I'm going to read the second hexagram because this is going to speak to the future potential if we move through this first 2 weeks within our highest good. So, the hexagram, second hexagram, is hexagram number 14. It's called Possession of Greatness. Possession of greatness is a gift from fate. This sign, therefore, heralds material wealth and worldly success all along the line. Both freely come about of their own accord, but it is crucial how you handle this gift. Practice being humble. Keep in mind the well being of your fellow human beings. It will support your own intentions as well. Pride and competitiveness could damage your own reputation and personal development. Build upon your positive attributes. Preserve your self discipline and strength of character. Then you will achieve the remarkable in this phase. Achieving the remarkable. Okay, now that sounds amazing, right? But it's really about allowing yourself to let go of all that is not you and developing a little bit more comfort and safety um, with the parts of yourself that you used to feel shame around, you know? Because when you are fully embodying yourself, then everything that's meant for you can be attracted to you. It can align with you and come towards you. So, the message from the tarot, we have the Eight of Wands and the Boom Baby card, which is the Tower. So, guess what, you guys? Like it or not, this is happening. If you are holding on to this old narrative and this old sense of self, something is going to come and shatter that foundation, shatter that, unstable energy and clear the slate. However, if you are allowing yourself to intentionally shift your relationships, intentionally remove yourself from certain, spaces so that you have more freedom to engage with your truth, then you find that the energy just fucking flows. It just flies. And whatever kind of stuckness or hesitancy that you were feeling because you were afraid or you were afraid of integrating this vulnerable piece of yourself, all that goes away. The path is just clear. And then you can level up. You can achieve everything that you want. You can have everything that you want. And even the things that you didn't know that you wanted because you never let yourself engage with this inspiration, you know? So that's why at the beginning I was saying break down or break through. Either way, they're both the same. And that is reflected in this energy, you know? You can have this breakthrough where you're the one who makes the change, or you can have the breakdown where your external circumstance has to crumble underneath your feet. And you don't really want that. Who wants that? So we're gonna go into the message from Spirit, and it is coming up as the Ace of Wands in the reverse and the Hold Down the Fort in the reverse, which is the Queen of Pentacles in the reverse. So this is basically kind of bringing up or asking us what we are ready to put down. You know what I mean? What commitments we are ready to let go because they were never part of an authentic desire for us in general, right? Or what we're ready to let go because we're no longer willing to hold on to this rhythm of kind of, I don't know, this Lover's card in the reverse is bringing up something really interesting for me because I think a lot of people move throughout their experience almost like on this energy of autopilot, and then randomly something starts to spark interest in them or light them up, and they are a little bit curious, but then they find when they get too close that it becomes this kind of like judgment energy where it is making an authentic part of them that activates their shame come to the surface. And then they have to step away from this and let go of something that, was actually bringing them a lot of joy and inspiration, and then go back to this energy of the same old mundane, boring stuff that you hold on to, because it provides that sense of social belonging, you know. Um, but you're not fulfilled on a deep level, you know. So this is time to let go of those things. So for other people, this could be like certain rhythms that you are still holding on to that actually um, reduce your ability to show up for these new paths, these new directions, or new opportunities um, within your full energy. You know, it just feels like there is some way that you could be tiring yourself out by still engaging with certain things just because they are a rhythm, just because you've built up inertia in this direction. Just because you've utilized this in the past and it's helped bring you to where you are now doesn't mean that it can take you to where you're going. It can't really help you solidify this new potential, this new opportunity, or this, reclaiming of self that you desire to have. You know, I'm trying to figure out how I can make like a physical example of this, but I just look at this like judgment card and say, you were shamed for something in the past, and so in order to get through kind of that pressure, um, you put on this armor, right? And now in this new reality where you're trying to reclaim this piece of you that was shamed in the past, you're still putting on the armor, you know? And if you're still putting on the armor, then you're not going to get the validation, or, you're not going to be able to have the success, have the dream, the reward, or the growth, progression that you're seeking. Ugh. I don't know why that was so hard for me to like massage out, but that progression, this growth that is happening inside of us, if we're not able to let go of the old rhythms that um, brought us to the current place, we're not really going to be able to fully step into this new opportunity that wants to come through. So, um, I just want to do a quick kind of summary of the 2 weeks that we are moving through at the beginning of Leo season. This is the storyline. It's the Judgment card and the Chariot card. We are face to face with parts of ourself that are ready to be reintegrated. You know, um, Allow yourself to truly engage with those things that are um, sparking that sense of inspired action, and don't feel like you have to be attached to or committed to whatever is on the other side of this thing. You're just trying to find out what's you and what's not you, right? We're going to go into the action, which is the Justice card and the Fool card. So we have new perspective, we have new vantage point of um, how we do relationships, how we create kind of attachments and relationships based off of this, old shame narrative, right? There's been a huge imbalance there, and it's kind of our job now to remove ourselves from these spaces that don't hold the totality of us, um, or it's our job to return to these kind of old contracts and show up with accountability, and finally cement your commitment to these relationships because they are authentic, because they are depthful, because they are meaningful, right? And even if that requires you to step outside of your comfort zone, I'm going to read the advice, the practical advice from the I Ching now. And this is going to help us kind of get a little bit more clarity around specific like scenarios for us and what we need to do to make it to the other side. How we do that is by reading the changing lines from the hexagrams. So this is hexagram one, this is hexagram, well, this is the first hexagram I pulled, this is the second hexagram I pulled. And then we're gonna read the lines that are changing between these hexagrams. So I've been experimenting with these cards not too long, and for the most part, I've only gotten like 3 lines that are changing. But for this reading, I got 5 changing lines. Lines 1 through 5 were all changing. And it was funny because it made me think of this judgment card where there are these 5 people that are coming back. So I really feel like, there are a lot of scenarios that we're facing right now, but there is advice pretty much for everything that's going on, for every type of scenario that's going on. So for the first changing line, it says, "You are obsessed with trivialities and don't recognize the core of the problem. Try to understand the situation as part of its greater whole and in its real significance for your life." Okay, you're obsessed with trivialities. So I think that is really coming up with this judgment in the reverse and this Fool card. You may have been so focused on all these expectations and kind of standards or rules, and that has caused you to not really be able to solidify a depthful like uh, connection or contract, something that's solid within this type of relationship, you know. Okay, line number 2. It says, "You suffer from the delusions of a subjective, single sided perspective. If you don't want to become more distant from people, then you will have to come down from your high horse. You will only understand people's motives if you cease seeing yourself as the center of things." Okay, yeah, once again, like, that's bringing up this energy. It says, if you don't want to become more distant from people, stop taking yourself too seriously, because I feel like that could be a front for some more tender part of yourself that you're trying to hide. Line 3. "You gain objectivity by overcoming egotistic and narcissistic dreams. Self knowledge is not just based upon an exploration of the inner self, but also upon understanding how you affect others." You gain objectivity by overcoming egotistic and narcissistic dreams. There's something about kind of this Lovers card and the Burning Man card that's coming through here, where I feel like, this is referring to some of the people who are going back to past kind of connections, because you were doing all this stuff to kind of protect yourself and not really being aware of how that self preservation was affecting the other people in these relationships. Line 4. You know how to get you know how to get on and succeed. Look for a field of activity in which you feel at ease. You will progress through an understanding of overall context and a lucky hand in dealing with people. You know how to get on and succeed. Look for a field of activity in which you feel at ease. Um, I think that's coming up with this Burning Man Lovers card and this Four of Cups reverse and King of Pentacles. Um, I think that you are seeking connections, relationships, communities where you just feel like the relationships are easy. You know, no one has to be anything or show up as something specific or follow a certain rule just to exist, just to be valid, just to belong in this space. So, what is that for you? Line 5. Look at the effect of your actions. Look at the effect your actions have upon other people. This provides a measure of yourself. When your actions prove to have a positive effect, then you can be satisfied with your own life as well. This makes me think of that energy of like people pleasing, which, really is like a Libra or Venusian type of energy, which is kind of this justice card. Um, the kind of interesting thing to think about or perspective shift that you can have with that is, you regularly compromise your own needs and your own values to make other people happy, but they're never happy. You know what I mean? So if people are still never happy, then what are you compromising for? You know, what are you holding yourself back for? Um, let's see. Look at the effect your actions have upon other people. This provides a measure of yourself. I don't know. I think when you're at a place where you're being yourself and people are happy with you, then you know that these are aligned connections. You know, these are aligned relationships because they hold their truth and they also hold your truth. And those two things don't clash or compete against each other. Um, they serve so everybody can get their needs met, you know? And then finishing off the climax of this story, listen, things are changing. And whether you like it or not, so you can really participate and have a breakthrough through really like reclaiming your truth, or you can continue to hold on to this sense of control and hold on to this armor and then have that completely shattered from underneath you, right? And the way to do this is to, you know, just let go of anything that you're holding on to that is just a performance, you know? You're holding on to this thing because it has become a rhythm, it has become a routine. Um, but if you're willing to let go and take the time to redefine, reorganize, or reorient yourself into something that is more authentic, um, then I think that you'll be surprised at how quickly you return to a flow state and build a new rhythm that is much more energizing and enjoyable and exciting and allows you much more room to play and have fun. So that is the message for the first 2 weeks of Leo season. If this was meaningful for you, definitely give this a like. Comment your experience down below, how you are moving into this season. Subscribe if you want to follow along for more readings like this in the future. Definitely check out my Ko-Fi page because you can see my channeled notes that I write. You can also see a picture of the spread that I pulled and images of the I Ching cards that I pulled as well. And also on my Ko-Fi page, you can donate here if you feel so inclined to support me in that way. But otherwise, yeah, good luck for the first half of Leo season, you guys. Like I said, break through or break down. Listen, the choice is yours. All right, see you next time.